everybody, it's Lori. I hope you're doing great. So it is full on spring here. I was just some of the pollen, we had a storm last night, and of course the pollen now is everywhere. But I've been spending some time out here in my shade garden. I've also, of course, just been soaking up my entire garden this time of year as everything is starting to come out of the ground and all the sweet little blooms. And so what I wanted to do today was really journal and capture what looks amazing in the spring garden. What do I want more of in my garden space? And what are some of those plants that we all should consider having in our spring garden? So I thought today I would share with you what is just looking beautiful in my garden. And it's going to help me remember when I go to the garden center, the type of plants that I want to add to my garden for future seasons. And I hope that it gives you some ideas as well. Now, some of these are very well known, but it may give you some ideas of things you want to add to your garden journal or make a note to be sure you order and add these plants. Now, several of these you can add into your garden now. Now, they may not bloom this season because the bloom time's already passed, but you will set stage and grow roots so that you'll have beautiful plants next spring. So there's some great examples that I'm going to give you that you could add now to prepare your garden for the future. So that's kind of what this video is for. While it's hard to plant things in the dead of winter, now is a great time to assess what spring plants you have in your garden and what do you want more of. So let me know in the comments as you think about your garden space. Is there something that blooms in spring or comes to life in spring that you'd really like more of? I would love to hear your comments. So let's just get started. I'm going to walk you through 5 to 6 plants that I actually grow. I'm going to tell you my experience, and I'm going to tell you my experience with their size, their bloom time, how well they have thrived in my garden. And you can look up the type of plants. And of course, when you visit your garden center, you will find most of these there. And so it's just an option to consider, and maybe there's something you want to put on your list. I will include the name of the plant on the screen. In case you haven't heard of it before, you could jot it down. All right, so let's jump in. I'm out here in the shade garden, so we are going to start here with some of my favorite things. So I think one of the number one that everybody talks about in the end of winter is a Lenten rose or hellebore. So of course I wanted to add that to my list. Now there are so many varieties online, and I have at least 5 different varieties. But I absolutely love them. They're very low maintenance. You just have to cut off the prior year's kind of growth and branches in early spring. So it also gives you something to do in the garden. And then they just start to erupt from the ground. Now I have them throughout the shade garden on both sides, but I can tell you I absolutely want to add some more. Now they're a little bit of an expensive perennial to purchase, usually anywhere from $15 to $30, but you have to remember that they are absolutely super tough. They also are going to set seed and will spread gently. They're not a heavy spreader, but they will gently spread over the years. Now, the ones that I have not spread very rapidly. Now, mine are in true shade. They're going on year 4, and this is probably the best year ever for them, but they are not super heavy spreaders for me. So if you're concerned about that, I wouldn't be. I think as long as you have them in a shaded area, I don't think, the seeds are going to have enough maybe light to germinate. I also keep this area very heavily mulched with leaf mulch. And I don't know if that prevents the seeds from germinating, but I have not had an issue. So these are one of the first things to pop up in my garden and give us some beautiful color. So let me show you the varieties I have. There are so many to choose from online. You can also find them on sale. You can find them on sale before summer at some garden centers, and then some garden centers put them on sale like right before they close their doors in the fall or winter. So watch for them on sale as well. I know you can also get starter hellebores online, like little, almost like plugs. So let's look at the ones that I have. Okay, so here's a variety that I have that is still blooming. You can see the seed has not completely formed yet. They've still got the little blooms. I love this one. It's a little bit of, burgundy with the green on the inside. And then you can see the new growth of the leaves. Looks like I have maybe a Brunnera or Brunaria, however you like to say it, popping up. We'll talk about that plant in just a minute. But I think that this one is really, really beautiful. Now, this variety, I'm not sure, I don't remember the name of this one. It stays really petite and tight. So I think that makes it really nice. It just kind of behaves right here. Now, back here in the back, I have this one that is just the sweetest bloom. Isn't that gorgeous? I absolutely love this one. And you can see the gorgeous greenery that you get. Now, I still have all of these beautiful blooms on. And let me get out of this harsh light. Now, these are forming seeds. There you go. This is a seed head. Now, let me see if I can block the sun. There we go. That's a seed head. This is going to be one with an earlier bloom. So that still has the bud on it. So they're all different varieties, but just absolutely beautiful foliage. And then you can see I have a fern right here. Not a fern, a hosta. And then as we come over, I have this sweet little variety. Isn't that beautiful? So I'm sure that you may have hellebores in your garden or you've heard about them, but I just think they're just absolutely beautiful and they're definitely worth the money. So I'm going to hope to add maybe 2 to my garden so that they just continue to bring this beautiful spring interest and so much variety in the colors. Okay, so let's look at number 2. So I absolutely love and encourage you to plant bulbs in your gardens. I think daffodils are the biggest bang for your buck. They return year after year. They do what's called naturalize in your garden, and there are hundreds of varieties. So this is one that I just love. It has a little orange face and it blooms a little later. What's great about daffodils is you can get those that start as soon as the earth starts to wake up, and you can get some that bloom all the way into April, and they just bring so much life. The other beauty is they will grow in sun or shade, so you can add them throughout your garden. I have them all the way through the garden beds, and I absolutely love them. Now, of course, other bulbs that you can grow for spring are tulips. Now, tulips do not naturalize in my area. There are some perennial varieties. I haven't added those to my garden yet. They're typically in the colors red and orange, but there are an option. So instead, for me, I have chosen to just fill my garden with daffodils, and I just find them to be so stunning and beautiful. Now, the only thing challenging I would say about daffodils is probably the maintenance. So once they lose their blooms, you can cut that stalk down if you want. So you can discard the spent bloom. You can also just kind of cut the top off. But what you want to do is let the foliage die back on its own. You want to let it get brown, which can make the garden look a little ugly for at least a couple weeks, but that's okay. I know some people will take it and bend it down and rubber band it. That way it doesn't look so messy in the garden. But what you want to do is allow all this foliage to soak in the sunshine, to regenerate the bulb so that it will bloom in the next year. And it's really important to do that so that you have those bulbs blooming year after year after year. So many reasons to add daffodils to your garden, or really any spring blooming bulb. I just prefer these because you get so much bang for your buck. I have had bouquet after bouquet after bouquet for at least a month. I think that's really incredible. They do not need fertilizer. You can bulb fertilize them if you want. I've never done that. I just fertilize my garden beds, and that seems to help. I think the biggest tip is to be sure that you let all that foliage turn brown and gross before you cut it back. All right, let's find a beautiful container for these, something small, and add some water to it. And then I'm going to show you my third spring blooming plant. Okay. Okay, so I think we're on number 3. We've covered Lenten roses, of course, bulbs like daffodils, and number 3 is going to be Brunnera or Brunaria. Now, there's Jack of Diamonds. It's one of the most famous ones from Proven Winners, but let me show you what they look like. It's mid-April where I am, and they're just gorgeous. Now, it will bloom for a few weeks, but then afterwards, you just get this gorgeous foliage that kind of falls into the background in your garden. So let me show you to it up close. So the other thing that I just love about this plant is that in the fall and winter, it literally just kind of goes away and you even don't know where it is in the garden. And then come spring, it just starts popping up. It's very, very hardy, very cold tolerant, kind of no issues with that. And then you just get these gorgeous blooms. There are tons of varieties. There's one that's called a ginormous Brunnera, and then of course everybody loves the Jack Frost by Proven Winners because it's very hardy, gorgeous blooms, and this gorgeous texture. Now this plant will continue to get a little bit larger. I also have this little one over here, and I can see that my rabbit friends have been chewing on it. So it is not deer or rabbit proof, but I've seen they're nibbling a little bit, but they're not going to eat the whole thing. I don't have to worry about that. Brunnera definitely needs to be in the shade, and it does great with dappled sunshine as it's getting right now, but it does not like the heat of the summer. Okay, now next door, I have another plant that many of you may be familiar with. So I have 2 more items on my list, and this is one. You see those sweet little blue flowers. This is a type of ajuga. This one is a variegated with the purple, and I really like that one. I'm going to definitely add some more of that to my garden space. So there's some beautiful ajuga. Now this will turn a little bit darker. It's just kind of come up. It's a beautiful ground cover and just gorgeous blooms in the spring. And then those will fall away and it just kind of forms into this just beautiful ground cover that you really don't have to do anything with. It's steppable, but what it does is it allows where I don't have to mulch as much. And so that's what I really like. My goal with this area, which is right under my redbud tree, pull back so you can see. This space, again, it's right under this gorgeous redbud tree. And what I want to do is get some more ajuga. I'm going to try to get some plugs so that I can just fill this area in, because that way I don't disturb the roots of the tree. It's kind of giving it some shade protection, and it's just beautiful and much less mulch. So I highly recommend ajuga, especially in spaces where you have, maybe especially around trees or other shrubs where you want a little bit of ground cover. Let me show it to you under my crab apples. Okay, so here's some of the ajuga that I have growing under the crabapple tree. Now, my purpose was that it would kind of hopefully take over and kind of get out that green stuff that you see is not a plant, it is mugwort, and it is invasive. And I continue to just pull it out of this garden space. The ajuga, I think, has helped. but I need a lot more of it. So you can see how beautiful these are going to be alliums, but just that little touch of purple is so pretty in early spring, and then the dark foliage. So you can get ajuga in all forms. I think this is a great example. Right here, I have two different varieties. So that's one variety. And then right here is the variegated. They both have the little purple bloom, but just kind of two different plants. Isn't that so sweet? It almost looks like a hyacinth. I haven't tried to cut it to see what it does, but I think it's just kind of magical and definitely something I want more of in my spring garden. Now, the last thing that I would definitely love to have more of in my spring garden, but unfortunately I don't have a lot of room. I may find space for one more, and that is a flowering spring tree. So I have two options in my garden. I have these gorgeous crabapple trees behind me, and they are just 4 seasons of interest, but their spring color, they're fading now. This is probably the last week of their blooms, but I'm going to put on the screen images of what they looked like in their prime. They're just absolutely beautiful. The pollinators love them. They smell so beautiful. My other spring blooming tree that I have in my garden is a Jane Magnolia, and she was absolutely stunning this year as well. Just gorgeous, deep magenta colored petals. So I'm adding this one. While it's not a plant, it's a tree. If you can squeeze in a spring blooming tree, I highly recommend it. Now, there are small varieties of crab apples. You can get really small ones. You can also add things like viburnums that can grow up like a tree form, but don't have the height and the weight of one of these types of crab apples. So look for those smaller versions. You can get small versions of apples. You can get small versions of even the magnolias. Well, thanks so much, everybody, for watching today. I hope this gave you some ideas and inspiration. I know number one on my shopping list is looking for some ajuga plugs. I really want to add that under some more of my trees. Number two is just to remember now is the best time to find some of these plants or even a spring tree to add to your garden. Now, your spring bulbs, you definitely want to wait until the fall. However, sometimes friends, neighbors, someone on Facebook Marketplace may be digging up a garden and selling or giving away bulbs. That's a great time to get some for free, and you can go ahead and pop those in the ground. So just keep that in mind, but you definitely want to get your orders in this summer. That's what I'm going to do. My plan is to add more of these sweet little white ones into my garden because I have a lot of the yellow and the orange. So I'm going to take these beauties upstairs or maybe put them on my mantle and enjoy them for this week. I hope spring is just beautiful where you are. And thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in a couple days in another video. Thanks, everybody.